Now to a CNN exclusive. The Senate GOP leader, Mitch McConnell, he says that he's not confident Republicans will take back the Senate majority in 2024. Leader McConnell telling CNN's Manu Raju in an exclusive candid phone interview, quote, "You'll love this. We do have the possibility of screwing this up." And that gets back to candidate recruitment. I think that we lost Georgia, Arizona, and New Hampshire because we didn't have competitive candidates. That would be last year, he means. This, despite an obvious advantage in the upcoming election. Democrats are defending a whopping 23 seats compared to only 11 Republican-held seats. Right here in studio with me is our chief congressional correspondent, Manu Raju. His candor is born of experience. He thought in the last couple of cycles he would get and then pad a Republican majority, and yet he is in the minority. Let's just put the map up on the screen here. If you look at this, number one, the advantage for the Republicans is all 11 of those red states with Republican incumbents are Republican states in presidential elections. Is Florida potentially a swing state? Maybe. But you go through all of those states and you have Republican incumbents in what should be safe or safe-ish seats. You look at the map here. McConnell, in the interview with you, focuses on Montana, West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, where you have Democratic incumbents right now in what, in a presidential year, should be tough states, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear him talk about that because he's seeing this, despite all those states that we just saw, he's really looking at a very small map to take back the majority. In West Virginia, of course, Joe Manchin, we don't know if he's going to run again. He's very happy about getting Jim Justice, the governor there, to run there. Also in Ohio, Sherrod Brown is the incumbent Democratic senator. They have several candidates they are happy about. In Montana, there's hope that they could get this businessman named Tim Sheehy to run there. John Tester is the incumbent member. And they are really, really pining to get Dave McCormick, who ran and fell short in the Pennsylvania Senate race in the last primary. Now they want him to run here. But John, in each of those states, there are very complicated primaries that could emerge and could complicate their efforts to get back the majority. So McConnell made very clear that unlike the last cycle where the Republican leaders, for the most part, stepped away from those primaries, they plan to engage, spend money and resources in those races to ensure that they believe they can get the most electable candidate, root out the weaker ones. But of course, that's easier said than done.
And so let's continue there. So another reason McConnell thinks Montana, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, good for Republicans, even if Trump is the nominee, because those are strong states for Trump. He lost Pennsylvania last time, but he got a ton of votes. It was a very close state there. Then you look at these other ones. You look at Wisconsin, you look at Nevada, you look at Arizona, where you have Democratic incumbents in what should be battleground states. Why not more confident there?
Yeah, I asked him specifically about that. So what about those other states? He left those out. Probably because of the down ticket impact. He didn't say that explicitly, that the down ticket impact could potentially hurt Wisconsin, could hurt them in Arizona, Michigan. He barely even mentioned in the interview. And Arizona is such a complicated state for them because of the potential of Kyrsten Sinema running as a third-party candidate, also as a Democratic candidate, and some very far-right candidates, including Kari Lake, Blake Masters, considering a run in Arizona. McConnell made clear to me, John, that they plan to wait almost certainly until after the primary to decide whether to spend any money there at all, which explains the underlying problem here for them. A lot of the primaries could produce candidates who could be unelectable in a general election, which is why he's hedging his bets at this point.
One of the things he said to you is, we don't have an ideological litmus test. We'll be involved in every general election where we have a legitimate shot of winning. The question is in the primaries, though. Does he expect to have fights with Trump over Republican nominees? Are they going to spend to go against Trump?
It's really an interesting question. What will Trump do? We don't really have a sense if he'll be as aggressive as he was last time, because a lot of this blew up back in his face in the last cycle. What will he do now? Steve Daines, the NRSC chairman of the Senate GOP campaign arm, has been working behind the scenes, talking to Trump, endorsed Trump for his presidential run. Perhaps that could help things going forward, but it's still uncertain.
Fascinating interview and interesting. It's just, again, his lack of confidence, born of history. Manu. Everybody, I urge you to go to CNNPolitics.com, read the entire interview. It's fascinating.